Hello, welcome to March 2nd, 2025. My name is Kurt, and this is my daily Good Life meditation, an exercise that I do each and every morning, a little bit after waking up, to remember my life objectives and principles, those which are outlined in my book, Going Alone. I also use this time to think about the last 24 hours and how I did with the various challenges and opportunities that I met. I go over the 8 objectives of my creed, and I plan for the coming day. Pardon me, but first let's get started with a welcome to new YouTube subscribers. It's great to have you. And I want to let you know that although if you're here for the Japan content, this video is happening in Japan. I am in a Japanese convenience store right now live, but I don't necessarily talk about Japan in this video other than the fact if it's contextual or related to what's going on in my life, which usually it is. But this isn't a usual Japan video. This is a Kurt journaling video. So if you're interested in hearing me talk aloud about the challenges and opportunities that I met in the last 24 hours and what I plan to do with today, then come on board. Grab yourself a cup of coffee if you like. I also want to give a disclaimer that I do talk about sensitive subjects in this video. I typically talk at least once about death, my own death, and I sometimes I'll talk about other subjects that are unsettling to people, like my lack of belief in God, which and other things. So if you're not comfortable with topics like that, then again, this might not be the right video for you. You can always spot these videos. They happen about the same time, live every day, usually with a thumbnail of my face, and usually and always the title, The Good Life. And I want to finally kick things off with a thank you to my Patreon supporters, my YouTube members, and those who watch my videos. Your direct contributions or your incidental activity of watching my video generated the revenue that bought my coffee this morning. I also had a delicious melon pan, which is kind of like a really delicious baked good. I'm needing so much energy lately. I'm spending so much time in the garden and so much time walking now that I'm retired, that I don't get enough food, so I'm just fueling up all over the place. So you guys bought me both this latte, sugar-free latte, and that melon pot, which was chock full of sugar. So thank you for that. Also, you guys bought dinner last night. I took the family out for Korean barbecue at a place downtown, which my brother-in-law Takeshi recommended, and it was terrific and very inexpensive. So we went out, and I wanted to thank the family, mostly Yoko, for yesterday. She worked really hard on the house. My wife and her recently retired, and we bought a house here in Japan, one of those famous, 5 million empty homes in Japan. We bought one of those Akia, and we're redoing our DIY work on it. And Yoko was sanding the door yesterday and helping with chiseling the tile off the bathroom. So I wanted to take her out, and of course we took Dad. And I used the funds from Patreon and YouTube to pay for dinner. And I wanted to report that I was able to take the entire family of 4 of us. Our daughter Emily wasn't here. She's up in Tokyo, which I wouldn't expect her to be here. She doesn't live here. She lives in Tokyo. But I'm used to saying when I'm saying the family, because in addition to being newly retired and newly moved to Japan, we're also newly minted empty nesters, so it's hard for me to get used to thinking about family without my daughter being involved. But we went out to this Korean barbecue place that was next level, guys. I mean, it was really good. And we just kept it coming. And, we had drinks, we had meat kept coming. It was the type that would come with a cabbage, and you'd put the miso on, and then you'd cook the meat and put the meat on, and then the kimchi, and I just kept on saying, bring more kimchi, more meat, everything, and it just kept coming. And I was expecting a big bill, and it was 9,500 yen, which is like about, good gosh, it's like less than $60, maybe $58 for 4 of us, stuffed, and we got not only the beef to cook, I got a bibimbap of my own, a hot bowl of my own. Yoko got one too. How is this possible? What universe can you feed 4 adults with drinks, two stuff to the gill, including barbecued beef, for under $60 US? Anyway, Thank you. This is my long-winded way of saying thank you to my supporters, and which is not unusual because today is Sunday and today is my Patreon Appreciation Day when I send out my status report to my patrons. So thank you, everybody. Let's get started. Oh, if you leave a comment, I'm not ignoring you. I guess I am. Um, I respond to comments at the end of these videos because I have a flow that I do. I need to kind of keep my mental flow happening as I do this exercise, and then I'll respond to comments later. So first thing I'm going to do is there's three things I'm going to do from this point forward. One, the last 24 hours. I'm going to go over what happened in the last 24 hours where I was challenged to keep my balance and equanimity in life. What happened where I kind of lost my footing, or what happened where I did well and kept my footing in spite of the challenges. You see what I'm trying to do? It's like a post-mortem on the day. Where did things go good? Where did things go bad? How could I improve? Then I'm going to recite the 8 objectives of my creed, which is simply the principles and objectives that I use to try to live a good life. And these are outlined in my book, Going Alone, which you can read for free at goingalone.org. And then finally, I'll talk about the next 24 hours, namely, what is it that I plan to do between now and the same time tomorrow? And usually that boils down to typically one thing. And let's get on with it. So in the last 24 hours, and I do take notes throughout the day, I keep a notebook with me all the time, and I take notes throughout the day, 1 page per day, and I name the day. Today's date is March 2nd, 2025, and the title of this day is Garden Trail Day. More on that in a second. Under the last 24 hours, I have 2 notes here. First note says, allergies or low tide. There should be a question mark there. I was struck yesterday afternoon after lunch during our dog walk. We live here in the Valley of Tea, Yada, in Shizuoka City, Japan. And behind our home is beautiful farmland and countryside. And we walk our dogs, my wife and I, after lunch every day. 3 times a day, morning, at lunch, and evening walks. In the afternoon, we typically walk the dogs into the farmland behind our house. Beautiful area. And as it's the weekend, sister-in-law Yoko joined us. As we started the walk, I really started to feel yucky. I felt bad. Like it wasn't just, but it was strange. Sometimes I get this, it feels like being sick or the start of being sick. Sometimes it feels like being depressed. It's hard to distinguish between the two. But for some reason, I'm always slow to pick up when it's my allergies, the seasonal allergies, which are just kicking in here in Japan. Well, I guess I shouldn't be surprised because I've only been back in Japan 10 weeks. I'm not used to these allergies hitting me like they do. I should have taken a clue from the fact that my sister-in-law Yoko, who also suffers from allergies, was wearing her face mask. Usually, because Yoko monitors the weather reports every day, and she knows when the allergies are going to be on high alert, and she wears a dang face mask. As I should have taken a clue, I didn't bring one with me. We got about halfway through the walk, and I was in my head. I wasn't saying anything. I was being quiet, which is a big clue to my wife that something's going on. But I was like, okay, just hang in there, Kurt. I hadn't figured out it was allergies. And I figured it was this other thing that I call low tide. But low tide is what I refer to. Of course, the opposite of low tide is high tide. I use this concept of low and high tide to represent the state of my mood, my general feeling of well-being. High tide being when I'm in a good mood. Low tide being when I'm in a crappy mood. And I've noticed in my 60 years that there seems to be a cycle to this. One, just like the tide, that's why I call them the tide. They come and go. So if I'm in a bad mood in the morning, usually I'm in a good mood in the afternoon, and vice versa. Now I can directly impact that according to what I eat. So if I eat a big sugary, snack, or like the thing that's guaranteed to wipe me out, I really like Starbucks mocha, and I tend to buy the venti size. What I typically do is I sip the mocha throughout the day, or even 2 days. I've been known to let a mocha go 3 days, a venti size. If I make the mistake like I did earlier in the week of getting a venti-sized mocha and downing more than 2/3 of it in one sitting, I'm finished. I mean, I'm doomed. And I did that earlier in the week. I did that, and Yumiko had gotten donuts from Mr. Donuts, and I did the 2/3 of the mocha before I realized what I had done, and a donut, and it wiped me out. So I can definitely trigger higher low tide based on my appetite, what I eat. Another way to guarantee high tide is intermittent fasting. If I don't eat anything for breakfast, I'm gonna have a great morning. I may be a little bit hungry, but I'm gonna have a great morning. So you see what I mean? High and low tide. But even if I'm eating well and exercising well, still my moods don't persist. I'm not always in a good mood. I get crappy moods, and vice versa. So I wasn't sure yesterday as the day was unfolding. There wasn't any antecedent event. I couldn't say like something happened that, made me feel down, or that, that I didn't eat anything bad because I ate anything good. So I couldn't figure out. I was wrestling in my mind, what's going on? Why am I having low tide? Is it low tide, or what's going on? And then it wasn't until 2/3 of the way through that I started, as always is the case, I opened up to Yoko and my wife's sister and Yumiko, and said, hey, guys, I don't know why, but I'm not feeling good. And they just kind of looked at me, and they were like, of course, it's your allergies. Put on a mask, dummy. I go, oh yeah, dummy. So I got home, put on a mask, and within 2 hours, I was feeling good again. Now, I don't know if that was high tide approaching or what, but I wound up having a hell of a great afternoon. So it started off the morning great. Midday, after lunch, felt like crap. Afternoon felt evening. Oh man, I had a great night and evening last night because I was wearing my mask outside and I was indoors with the door closed. So that's how that. So I would, in terms of ranking myself in terms of how I handled it, I did a poor job of assessing the situation and realizing that it was allergies, but I did a good job of, one, moderating my reaction. Because sometimes when I was younger, I'm 60, when I was younger, and I'm talking about like in my 40s and my 30s, when I felt bad, I typically let the world know about it, namely my family, and I'm not proud of that fact. I'm glad I matured way out of that. So I did moderate my feelings. There's a principle in my creed called the Feast of Offal. And the Feast of Offal, it's a fancy name. It refers to, spewing the vomit of our feelings out around us and causing other people to consume that. And, it's like sharing the misery. And I didn't engage in the Feast of Offal, which I rarely ever do anymore. I've trained myself through these daily exercises to not do that. But I was slow to spot what was going on. I'm proud of it. So that was a negative. I was proud of myself that I didn't do the Feast of Offal. And also proud of myself that I stepped forward, literally, because I was lagging behind the family with white dog Rudy. And I literally caught up, and I said, I'm going to explain what's going on to you, because it was clear to them that something was up. And I said, hey guys, I'm just not feeling good, So I used reason to say, okay, Kurt, the way to handle this is to not sit here and sulk, step forward and just let them know that I don't feel good, don't know why, and so they know it's not them, it's just Kurt's being moody. So that was good. So I had allergies or low tide, and I had a couple of things where I did well and not so well relative to that. The second one, it relates to the first one. The bullet here is high tide returns. I just wanted to point out again that following the afternoon low tide, high tide returned with a vengeance. And it was interesting that in the midst of it, I didn't take it for granted. I was like, oh, here's high tide again. Welcome back. I'll enjoy you while you last. And I ordered another beer because it was really high during the dinner that I took the family out to. Actually, I didn't order another beer. I only had one beer last night, but I thought about it. The spirit was there. Okay, let's get on to the creed. I have 8 objectives in my creed. The objectives are the part of the creed which aim me at what I'm trying to do, the purpose of my life. And namely because since I gave up religion, since I stopped being a Christian, I needed to find some purpose in life, right? Some reason to live. And so my creed gives me that purpose, namely the purpose of the pursuit of virtue, where virtue is defined as activities and decisions related that help me to be my very life to be an improvement to the well-being, namely of thinking creatures. What that means, and it's very generic, but it means is that I'm trying to do things, make decisions, and take actions that reduce suffering in the world and improve peace and happiness, not at the expense of others. So, whatever, so like, for example, my creed, since I'm kind of a semi-public figure on internet, I get a lot of email from people. And my creed helps me to see that the best thing, one of the very, very best things I can do throughout the day is when I get an email from a young man or woman, typically they're young. I don't know why the demographic of between about 13 to 26 seems to be the demographic that reaches out to me the most. Maybe that's because that was the age when I was struggling the most. The best thing I can do throughout the day is to take time to carefully read and respond to the email of the young people that write to me, with questions, because I know that I can have a good influence insofar as helping them to gain the courage, maybe to live a more resolute life, and more determined in the direction of their goals, helping them to understand that their concerns and anxieties about life are completely normal, usually in most cases, and foster the courage to step forward in this one life that we each seem to get. So my creed helps me to align and focus my energies on things that I deem are worthwhile, which are, like I said, reducing suffering. I'm not the kind of guy that runs around joining charities to reduce suffering. That is perfectly fine, but it's just not how I operate. What I typically do is I write. I write and I share openly about my experiences in my blog and in my YouTube videos, so that others can see how I'm struggling and trying to move my way forward. Because I found a way through my good life endeavor to use reason and will and fortitude and temperance to navigate life in a considered manner, not relying on supernatural agency necessarily, which is wishful thinking, to get me by, but relying instead on my own endeavors, my own strengths, identifying my weaknesses, and reasoning my way to a better life. And it works. So the 8 objectives then of the creed are as follows. So and they're in order, most important to least important, so to speak, although they're all important to me. Number 1, the most important thing in my life is to be ready for death. That means I need to have my affairs in order, my relationships sound, and my life's work in a state of readiness, if not complete. Now, at age 60, I can say that my life's work is complete. I've raised my daughter, I've completed my career, I've written my book. So all those things are done. So I don't have to worry about the life's work anymore. The life's work now is this continuing effort. Basically, making these videos is my life's work now. The second one, my relationships. So I have to ask myself, that's my objective, to be ready to die. Am I ready to die? Well, my life's work is complete. Are my relationships sound? For those those relationships where I can extend an effort and have some engagement back, yes, they are. The only exception, of course, if you've heard me say, if you've watched these videos before, is with my mother, who really doesn't approve of my life and really doesn't want to have a relationship with me. But then, using my principles, or my objectives, I recognize what is within and not within my control, and how my mom chooses to evaluate my life, and what if she chooses to have a relationship with me is certainly outside of my control. So I can simply identify that that's her prerogative, continue to make outreach, send her an email once a week, say, I'm here, hope you're doing well, Mom, and hope that someday maybe she'll respond. The third thing is to have my affairs in order. That's simple. That just means, it's not simple, but it's Simply defined, it means that if I die, my wife won't suffer. Making sure that she's, because we're both retired, making sure that we're both financially secure and sound for the rest of our lives. And that is the case. So yeah, I'm ready to die. I don't want to die. I'm ready to die should that happen. Number 2 is to make good, and second objective is to make good and effective use of my time, to not waste my days. And that's why I organize my days. I have a plan. I outline what I'm going to do, and I execute that plan so that I don't suddenly, if it turns out that I do die this afternoon, I don't sit there and as I fade away into the emptiness, into the darkness, thinking, what a waste of time. It hasn't been a waste of time, not for many years. Third objective is to develop and maintain good and sound life principles and objectives. That's how this meditation started, because it was years ago, namely back in 2018, when I finished writing Going Alone and I had created the Good Life Creed, that I realized I needed to tinker with it. I need to maintain that creed. Like buying a car, you got to maintain it. And I endeavored to set out to do that through these daily meditative exercises, thinking about my life relative to my values and tuning my values where they don't fit. And I've been doing that for going on 8 years, and they're pretty much tuned. 4 is to cultivate good emotional reactions, to become someone who reacts well to the challenges and opportunities that I meet. Exactly the stuff that I was going over before. Did I react well to these things? The low tide or the allergies, whatever it was I was feeling, did I react well? Was I walking the dogs, and instead of when I felt like crap, did I announce that to the world? Hey, world, I feel like crap and you should too. No, I didn't. I reacted well. I kept that down, and instead I moved forward and I just let my family know, hey guys, just to let you know, I'm not feeling very good. It has nothing to do with any of you. Just, I don't feel like good. And they responded to me and said, of course, it's allergies, dummy. So that's an example of good emotional reactions, not being unreasonable or flying off the handle, but, being mature in my processing. 5, to perform good actions relative to my creed. That just simply means that if my creed sends me in the direction of the pursuit of the well-being of thinking creatures, pursuit of virtue, are my actions and activities, are the things that I'm doing throughout the day in furtherance of that? For example, could I be doing this, making this video, or could I be watching a rerun on TV? Well, of the two, this video is furthers the endeavors of virtue in my mind more than watching a rerun. Although sometimes some people might want to watch a rerun. Never me. There's basically no room for television in my life. It's not that I have anything against television. It's just there's so many better ways to spend my time. Number 6 is to do just one thing at a time. Am I right? 6 is do just one thing at a time. Hold on. To be always ready to die. To make good and effective use of time. To develop and maintain good and sound life principles. To cultivate good emotional reactions. To perform good actions. To recognize true limits and true opportunities so that I know what is within and not within my scope of my control. I went fast through that one, but I talked about it earlier. Not asking myself to do things that are unreasonable. For example, in my last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to talk about what I'm going to do in the next 24 hours. And it's one real simple thing. I'm going to work on the garden. I'm going to work on the the trail through the bamboo forest in my backyard. I'm not going to write a book, which would be an unreasonable. That's not within the scope of my capabilities in a single day without the help of AI. So you see what I mean? I'm reasonable in my expectations. Just like The Little Prince, remember that book? Number 7 is to do just one thing at a time and do that thing slowly, deliberately, and carefully. And number 8 is to keep my balance, both body and mind. And my balance comes from the reasonable application of my energies relative to my values. Okay, I've covered the last 24 hours. I covered the creed. Now let's talk about the next 24 hours. Actually, I have 2 items here, although typically I only pick one thing per day. Now that I'm retired, I know not to bite off more than I can handle. And more than one thing a day is usually more than I can handle. Because #life happens. I'm going to tell you guys, I heard other people describe this as well, other retirees. I have never been more busy in all my life than since I've become retired. I have absolutely no idea how I ever fit a career, let alone raising a family, into my life before now. I am so busy, and it doesn't matter Monday through the weekend, the whole thing. And it's delicious. I wouldn't have it any other way. If you're on your way on the road to retirement, be ready. It's a bumpy start. Give yourself if you're like me, and you're an adventurous person who embraces new paradigms, give yourselves about 10 weeks to get through the rough patches, but be persistent. Man, it's wonderful. The other thing I remember retiree people telling me over and over again was, it's wonderful, and they wish they had started sooner. And me too. I know I didn't have a choice. I started retirement at 60. If I could have started at 55, I would have, but I wasn't in a financial position to do that. But I'm so grateful now that I have my freedom still at a time of life when I still have my health, because I know that once my health goes, probably I have another 10 good summers left if I'm lucky, then everything changes. Anyway, I got way off topic. There's two things I have on my list for today. One, like I said, is to work on the trail through the bamboo forest. I really, really, really want to do that. And I really want to start that before the rain starts next week, because it's going to be solid rain all next week. And the other thing I want to work on is the patio solution. Up on the balcony of our new old house here in Japan, I set up a barrier system so that the dogs can be outside, because they're small dogs. Of course, the balcony has a fence, a railing, but it's wide enough that the little dog especially can put his whole head through, and maybe part of his shoulders. That worries me. So I went to the hardware store and I found some nice mesh fencing with slots about that big, so he can see through just nicely. All the air goes through, all the sounds of the forest, because we have a forest in our backyard. Lots of interesting sounds. And I gave myself a budget of about 25,000 yen, which is about $180, and I created a fencing system on the patio, and it came out great. Now, unique when I can go out and I can leave the door open on the patio, on the veranda upstairs, because Rudy, my dog, tends to stay upstairs, and he can sit out on the patio all day long, looking out at the forest, and he can hear the river. You can see the river going by. He loves it. He sits out there and just with his little ears up, just looking all day long at all this stuff. So I'm really, really happy with that solution. Ollie, the other dog, my wife's dog, he tends to stay on the first floor. And I don't have such a luxury for him yet, because I haven't fenced off the yard yet. Our house has a small yard, and we have a big, we got the lot next to us too. We got this enormous lot next to us that will be a garden, but that's too big to fence off. But I want to fence off the yard so that the dogs can go in and out and be outdoors as well, which will also free Unique and I to be able to take whole long day adventures and go do things, because not have to worry about coming home and taking them out, because they can go out themselves. So given the success that we had on the second floor balcony for Rudy, I want to replicate that success for Ollie downstairs so that he can get out. But he's a little trickier. He's a more energetic dog, slightly bigger dog. He could get out a lot of things. So I've got to engineer it in such a way to be successful. I need to think about it. I need to scheme a little bit. Now, there's no way he could get over what I created upstairs. Also, Ollie is smart enough. If he did come upstairs, he'd have a hard time getting through what I put up there. But he's smart enough to know that to not go through the bars. He's a really smart dog. And he can't. There's no way he could do it. The upstairs is good. Downstairs is problematic. I need more time to think about that. So I just made my decision. I'm going to think about the downstairs patio solution today while I'm working on the bamboo trail to the garden, because we really, really, once the rain's finished next week, we really want to get started on the garden in earnest. It's spring after all. Garden in Texas. That's coming. Taxes are coming up too. I held off on doing my U.S. taxes so far, because we were so busy in February moving, but now I've got all the paperwork, and I just need to submit it to the accountant. Now that's a whole other thing. That's it. So I know what I'm going to do today. Okay, let's go through comments, and then I'll wrap things up. Pink, someone named Pink says, hey Pink, you're the first time I've seen you here. Welcome. Ghost of Sabotage, an old friend of the channel. Good evening from the UK. Good evening, Ghost. Pink says, good evening. It's almost 12 2059 would be what? What is that? Oh, 1 p.m. in the UK. Wait, no, 2015 would be, I should know, 9 p.m., right? Well, happy evening there to you. The ghost says, I hope you had a good St. David's Day, which is the 1st of March. St. David is the patron saint of Wales. I think that was directed to Pink. Happy St. David's Day. Oh, there's April. Hey, good morning, April. I responded to your message this morning on Patreon. I'm glad to hear that you and the family made it safely, and that everybody is so busy, and that you are. I'm empathetic to the exhaustion you must be feeling at this point. But it looks like everything's off to a great start. It's really nice to hear that the kids are enjoying time with the family and getting involved with the family business, no less. Martina, hi Martina. Good evening to you. April says, young people think you're wise. I also get a father figure vibe from you, and like your personality and outlook towards things. Positivity. The world needs more positivity. Thank you. I definitely am a half full kind of guy in every way. I'm sure when I'm on my deathbed, I'll be looking at the bright side of death. I'll be like, listen, family, it's not going to be that bad. Here's why. Oblivion's a hell of a break. The ghost says, younger people want some info on what's going on, and knowing that nobody really knows what's going on, and the fact that we're winging it as we go, as we understand our own path we're making. Yes. I'm sorry I fudged the way you said that, but yes, I get what you're saying. There's Blue Tanuki. Hello, Blue. Peace to you. April says, I guess I should say positivity and realism. I'm sure some people don't see the be ready to die as positive. I do, but I think that comes from being a parent. You hit it square on the nose, April. The being ready to die, I get it elicits a very visceral response from people. People either see it the way I'm intending it, as it seems that you do, which is a cautionary reflection that life is impermanent, especially and I don't always mean to hearken back to my atheism, but this is relevant. As an atheist I don't believe I have a soul, I believe that oblivion awaits. Reflecting on death is a very significant thing, because that means I don't have a paradise or a hell to fall back on. Right? I mean, this is the end of the line. Oblivion, literally oblivion, I believe, awaits me. So my daily reflection on death is a very catalyzing thing. So, but I get two responses. I get people who say, yeah, I feel the same way. Memento mori, #memento mori, dude. And then I get other people who are like, Kurt, why are you always just hearkening on death? You're still young, and they're missing the point as I intend the point to be. Thanks, April. I'm glad to hear that you get what I'm saying. I don't know about the oblivion part, but at least you see my reflections on death for what they mean, for what I mean them to be. The Ghost of Sabotage says, I have a similar relationship with my parents, though I don't talk to my parents for reasons. Yeah, me too. It's a strange thing to not have that in your life, huh? And not because you don't want it or don't make an effort to have it. April says, I had to let Mom know last night. Sorry, I'm not being social. I'm having a hard time with TMI, and so I've been in my room a lot. Not anybody's fault. I just need me time. Yeah, I know. April, if you're describing your own self, an incident that happened here in Japan, if I'm reading that right, that you're here in Japan with the extended family and your family, and you just needed some time in your room, I can 100% relate to that. Many times, especially when I was visiting Japan and staying under the umbrella of the household of my wife's family, I just needed, like you just said, we had a little 6-mat room, and I would retreat to that room. And that was when I was still in my 30s and 40s. and I didn't have the ability to communicate very well. I would like pretend and hide and pretend that it wasn't real, like I was busy doing something when really I just felt like crap and I didn't want to be social. Now I can be more social and just say, hey, I just need a little time, a little private time. I also take walks. That really helps. But I totally relate to what you're describing, April, if I've read that correctly. Martina says, are you going to take away all of the bamboo in the yard? No way, Martina. I'm going to leave that bamboo forest. Fortunately, the backyard is ginormous, and there's enough room for the bamboo forest and the garden. So I'm going to leave the bamboo forest there and have the trail through the bamboo forest from the back of our house, through the bamboo forest, to the backyard by the river. It's going to be beautiful. Thanks for asking an interesting question, Martina. And also, it's good to see you in comments. I know you've been around for a long time on my channel. I appreciate that. April says, I'm so happy you were able to get the land around you. Thank you. April goes on, small dogs are good at escaping. I had a little heeler palm mix when I was little that was too smart for his own good. LOL. Yeah, I'm really worried about that. Fortunately, the area around here, there's nothing in the wilderness here. Because we're not in the edge of the deep wilderness. We're in something called the Nihon Daira, which is it's almost like think of it like a giant Central Park wilderness, but it's like 30 times bigger than Central Park. But there's no bears, or there's wild boars, but there's no bears out there. So I don't have to worry about wildlife hurting the dogs. And of course there's no coyotes or anything like that. No Japanese wolves are left. They've all been driven to extinction. But I do worry about them escaping, especially in the cold weather, because it's very cold at night, and I wouldn't want them to freeze. You get my drift, yeah. April says, love it. Deathbed, brain fart, those words you say to yourself to make yourself feel positive, like at the beginning of the day. Sigh, affirmations. Exactly. This is what I'm doing right now is my affirmation. Murasaki Yu. Hello, welcome. It's the first time I've seen your name. If you find yourself in Aizu, give me a shout and come have a cup of tea. Oh, thank you. I don't know where Aizu is, and I probably won't because I tend to not go anywhere. Shizuoka Prefecture is kind of like it's everything I'd ever want in life is here, and probably the only reason I would ever go anywhere anymore is to go to Tokyo if our daughter gave us a good reason to come there. But so likewise. And guys, I'm thinking about starting 2 new traditions. I'd love to hear what you think. One is a monthly, just let people know I'm going to be at Nana's Green Tea in downtown Shizuoka once a month. I haven't picked the date or time. If anyone wants to have tea, they can, because it's right next to the bullet train station. If they're swinging through Japan, they can stop off and have tea with me. The other thing is, beginning tonight, I'm going to start finishing my Retiring in Japan videos at the Family Mart bench. And so if anybody's around, I'm gonna try to do this every night, like between 8:30 and 9. Come have a beer with me at the bench. So that goes right back to you, Murasaki Yu. If you're around in this area, come have a beer with me at the Family Mart bench. I can provide the details if you need them. Or tea at Nana's Green Tea once I settle on a date and time for that. Oh, it's on Izu. Oh, okay. So you're within Shizuoka Prefecture. So that's game on. Yeah, definitely. Nice. Thank you for the invite. April says, yeah, and you feel guilty for not meeting their expectations in a Japanese way of socializing constantly. And my brain hurts after ring at the beach all day when Dad tries to have conversation. I'm not laughing at you. It's a sympathetic laugh, April, because you had mentioned on the Patreon message about how your dad's dialect is so impossible. I totally understand. My father-in-law's dialect is impossible, and my Japanese isn't good to begin with, but he's the one person in Japan I can least understand, and the one person I want to speak to most. And I really do try, but I cannot understand what that person's saying. I've had other Japanese people tell me after they've met him, they're like, I really have a hard time understanding what your dad is, what your father-in-law is saying. And April, with regard to the Japanese expectation of socializing, I totally know what that means too. The Japanese seem to have an ability and a super bonus strength to get through that giri, that obligation socializing. My wife's got it. She can socialize to achieve the ends that she needs to in terms of propriety beyond what I can do. So I totally relate. I totally relate to the room stuff. I totally relate to the dad stuff, and I totally relate to not being able to keep up with the social expectations. Yeah, you and I are of a like mind. I have a feeling there's lots of us. Yeah, I would be more worried about someone complaining about him than anything. I worry about complaints a lot. About someone complaining about him. About who? About who? Sorry, I missed that part. April says, not sure what I typed there with ring being the beach, maybe. I don't know what that meant either. I figured it was I was picturing like a beach ring, right? You wear around your waist. April goes on, complaints in her parentheses. Complaints, worry, comment was about the dogs getting out. I see. And Martina says, thank you for your answer. I think I started watching your video 1 year before you moved to the US, so maybe 11 to 12 years ago. Your videos then made me decide to visit Japan. Yeah, I remember, Martina, I remember you. I remember you from back then. So thank you for being with me for so long. Some names in comments just, stand out as memorable, probably because of the content of your comments, right? I mean, a lot of people have very thoughtful comments that I really greatly appreciate. Everybody that's leaving comments here, case included, and you're all included in that. Well, I've got to reach the end of the comments. It's 6:39. We're going to walk the dogs at 7. I have just enough time to leave now, swing up onto the hill to get a photograph of Mount Fuji from my new Fuji viewing spot, and then we'll start our day in earnest. My one goal today is to clear the bamboo trail. I wish you all the best. Special shout out to you, April, over down there. Take care. Get the rest you need, and know that you're not alone, especially when you're juggling the kids and the social responsibilities and trying to figure out what the hell Dad's saying. Have a nice day, Martina says. Be careful with the bamboo. Thank you. They are dangerous. Okay, wish you all the best. Well, take care. Bye-bye. Be safe, but not too safe.